Your mother is not our responsibility, Darnell. She's had her life. We're just starting ours. Those words hit me like a freight train. My name is Darnell, I'm 31 years old and I've been married to Brianna for 2 years. 2 years that I thought were built on love, partnership, and those vows we took in front of everyone we cared about. But sitting across from her at our dinner table, watching her cold eyes drill into mine, I realized I'd been living with a stranger. Let me back up. 3 hours earlier, I'd gotten a voicemail from my mom's doctor. I was in a meeting so I couldn't answer. When I finally listened to it during my lunch break, my hands started shaking. Mr. Thompson, this is Dr. Martinez from County General. We need to discuss your mother's biopsy results. Please call me back immediately. The tone in her voice told me everything I needed to know before I even dialed back. Stage 3 lung cancer. Aggressive. Immediate treatment required. I'd sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, just staring at the steering wheel, trying to process what I'd just heard. My mom. My strong, unbreakable mom who'd raised me alone after my dad walked out when I was 8. The woman who'd worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. She'd never even smoked. Not once. But 30 years of breathing and cleaning chemicals as a hospital janitor, working in poorly ventilated spaces with no protective equipment back in the 90s, had finally caught up with her. I'd driven home in a daze, walked through our apartment door, and found Brianna setting the table for dinner. She'd made pasta her specialty and had candles lit. It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like a scene from someone else's life. I couldn't even taste the food. When she asked what was wrong, I couldn't speak. I just slid my phone across the table with Dr. Martinez's follow-up text message displayed. Patricia Thompson. Stage 3 lung cancer. Treatment plan attached. Brianna had picked up the phone, read the message, and I'd watched her face carefully. I was looking for concern, for compassion, for the woman I'd fallen in love with 3 years ago. What I saw instead made my stomach drop. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes narrowed slightly. And then she'd set the phone down, taken a sip of her wine, and said we needed to talk about this logically. That's when the argument started. I'd pulled up the treatment cost breakdown the doctor had sent. Even with my mom's Medicare, the out-of-pocket costs were staggering. Chemotherapy, radiation, medications, co-pays, transportation to appointments since she couldn't drive herself anymore. We were looking at $4,800 a month minimum. I'd proposed sending my mom $1,200 monthly to help cover the basics and keep her from losing her house. That's when Brianna had dropped her fork, pushed her plate away, and hit me with those words that would change everything. That's our house down payment, Darnell. That's our future. I'd stared at her, trying to understand. She's dying, Brianna. My mom is dying. That's when she'd said it. The thing I'll never forget, never forgive. The words that opened at the top of this story, the ones that showed me exactly who I'd married. And I'd noticed something else in that moment. She was wearing a new watch. Rose gold, designer logo clearly visible on the face. I'd never seen it before. When did you get that? I asked, pointing at her wrist. She'd pulled her sleeve down quickly, defensively. It was on sale. Don't change the subject. We're talking about your mother draining our savings account for something that probably won't even. She'd stopped herself, but I'd heard the unspoken end of that sentence. Won't even matter. Won't even work. Won't even save her. I'd stood up from the table, my chair scraping loudly against our kitchen floor. I need some air. Darnell, sit down. We're not done talking about this. But I was done. I grabbed my keys and walked out, leaving my dinner half-eaten and my wife sitting there with that new watch glinting in the candlelight. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share and subscribe for more interesting videos. I drove around for 2 hours that night, just circling our neighborhood trying to clear my head. Eventually, I ended up parked outside my mom's house, a small 2-bedroom ranch she'd bought when I was in middle school. Every light was off except the porch light she always left on. I remembered being a kid, coming home late from basketball practice and seeing that light burning. So you always know you're home, she used to say. She'd paid off that mortgage exactly 1 week before the diagnosis. 30 years of payments, never late, never missed. I'd taken her out to dinner to celebrate. We'd gone to Red Lobster because that was her favorite, and she'd ordered the most expensive thing on the menu for the first time in her life. She'd been so happy, talking about maybe taking a cruise, maybe visiting her sister in Florida, maybe finally just resting. 1 week later, cancer. When I finally got back to the apartment around 11, Brianna was in bed with her laptop, scrolling through something. She didn't look up when I walked in. I brushed my teeth, changed into sweats, and climbed into bed beside her. The silence was suffocating. I'm sending her the money, I said finally. Brianna closed her laptop with a sharp snap. Darnell, be realistic. The survival rate for stage 3 lung cancer is what? 20%? 30%? You're throwing money into a black hole when we're supposed to be saving for a house. We've been in this apartment for 2 years. My friends are all buying homes, starting families, actually building their lives. My mother is building her life too. She's building it minute by minute, trying to survive. That's emotional manipulation and you know it. She turned to face me, and in the dim light from the hallway, her face looked harder than I'd ever seen it. I'm not saying don't care about her. I'm saying we have to think about us. We're supposed to be a team. Team. The word sat bitter in my mouth. I thought about what being a team meant. I thought about 13 months ago, right after we'd gotten engaged, when Brianna had broken down crying about her student loans. She'd been inconsolable, saying she felt like damaged goods, like she was bringing nothing but debt into our marriage. I'd held her while she sobbed and told her we'd figure it out together. What she didn't know was that I'd just gotten a $20,000 raise at work. A promotion to senior marketing manager, more responsibility, better title, and that substantial bump in pay. I could have used that money for so many things. A better car to replace my 10-year-old Honda. A bigger apartment like Brianna wanted. Investments for our future. Instead, I quietly started paying her student loans. $1,580 a month, automatically withdrawn from my account. I never mentioned it after that first conversation. Never asked for recognition, never threw it in her face during arguments, never even reminded her it was happening. I did it because that's what my mom had taught me love looked like. Quiet sacrifice. Showing up. Taking care of the people you care about without keeping score. Now, lying in bed next to my wife, I wondered if she'd even noticed. If she'd ever questioned how we were still saving money despite her loan payments supposedly coming out of our joint account. If she'd ever said thank you past that first month. I'm sending her the money, I repeated. Brianna's face flushed red. Then you're choosing her over me. I'm choosing to help my dying mother, Brianna. That's not the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. She sat up, pulling the blanket with her. You know what? Fine. Send her the money. But don't come crying to me when we're still renting at 40 because we can't afford a down payment. Don't blame me when we can't start a family because we're broke. This is your choice, Darnell. Your choice. She turned her back to me, switched off her bedside lamp, and that was it. Conversation over. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, and that's when the first seed of doubt really took root. Something was wrong. Something had been wrong for a while, and I'd been too in love, too trusting, too naive to see it. The next morning, Brianna left for work early without saying goodbye. I made coffee, fed our cat, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, setting up the automatic transfer to my mom's account. $1,200, first of every month, starting immediately. As I hit confirm, I felt both relief and dread. I was doing the right thing. So why did it feel like I was breaking something that couldn't be fixed? 3 days passed in cold silence. Brianna and I moved around each other like roommates who didn't particularly like each other. She'd come home from work, heat up leftovers, and eat in front of the TV. I'd stay in the bedroom, researching cancer treatment centers and survival rates until my eyes burned. We slept on opposite sides of the bed, a canyon of space between us. On Thursday evening, I got home before her. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I loosened my tie, kicked off my shoes, and noticed the bathroom trash can was overflowing. Brianna usually emptied it, but apparently we weren't doing small kindnesses for each other anymore. I grabbed the bag to take it to the dumpster, and that's when I saw it. A glossy Sephora bag, the distinctive black and white stripes crumpled on top. I wouldn't have thought twice about it, except we'd just had a massive fight about money 3 days ago. A fight where Brianna had used the word broke at least 5 times. I pulled the bag out. Inside was a receipt. I unfolded it and my hands went still. $340. One transaction. Date stamp. 2 days ago, the day after our fight about my mom. I scanned the items. La Mer moisturizer, 2 Tom Ford lipsticks, some palette I'd never heard of, luxury brushes. My vision blurred slightly. We were supposed to be broke. We were supposed to be saving every penny. Yet here was a receipt for luxury makeup that cost more than a week's worth of groceries. I set the Sephora receipt on the counter and dug deeper into the trash. There was more. A Lululemon receipt from the same day, $280 for leggings and a sports bra. An Anthropologie receipt from the week before, $195 for decorative pillows I'd never seen in our apartment. She must have returned them or left them in her car. My phone was in my hand before I'd consciously decided to pick it up. I sat down hard on the closed toilet seat, trash bag at my feet, and started scrolling through our bank statements. Our joint checking account showed regular deposits from both our paychecks. Normal expenses, nothing alarming. But Brianna had her own checking account from before we got married, one she'd kept, just for personal stuff. I'd never questioned it. Trust, right? That's what marriage was built on. Then I remembered something. Brianna's Venmo was public. She'd never bothered to change her privacy settings because she liked posting funny payment captions for her friends to see. I opened the app, searched for her username, and felt my chest tighten. Payment after payment. Sephora 2 weeks ago, treat yourself girl, with 3 sparkle emojis. Lululemon last month, new leggings energy who dis? Brunch at that expensive place downtown, bottomless mimosas with my favorites. Nail salon, self-care isn't selfish. The date scrolled back months. Hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands in a single month, all while she'd been telling me we were too broke to help my dying mother. One payment caption stopped me cold. It was from 3 days ago, the morning after our fight. She'd paid someone named Madison $60 with the caption, "Coffee therapy because my husband is being impossible face with rolling eyes hot beverage." I took screenshots. I didn't even know why at first, just some instinct that I'd need evidence later. Evidence of what, I wasn't sure yet. But something was crystallizing in my mind, something ugly and undeniable. I heard keys in the front door. Brianna was home. I quickly shoved my phone in my pocket, gathered up the trash bag and tied it closed. When I walked into the living room, she was setting down her purse and slipping off her heels. She looked at me, at the trash bag in my hand, and something flickered across her face. Guilt? Fear? It was gone too fast to identify. "Taking out the trash?" she asked. "Yeah. It was full. Thanks." She walked past me toward the bedroom, and I caught a whiff of her perfume, the expensive one she'd bought months ago. How much had that cost? How many other things had she been hiding? I took the trash to the dumpster, but I kept the receipts. I folded them carefully and put them in my car's glove compartment. When I came back upstairs, I could hear the shower running. Brianna always took long showers after work, 45 minutes minimum. I had time. Her laptop was on the coffee table, still open, screen dark but not closed. I touched the trackpad and it came to life. She was still logged in. I knew this was wrong, knew I was crossing a line, but the receipts had opened something inside me, some desperate need to understand what was happening to my marriage. Her email was open. I scrolled through quickly, not reading anything deeply, just scanning subject lines. Credit card statements, promotional emails from luxury brands, confirmation emails from online shopping. Then I saw one that made me stop. Subject line, Navient student loan payment confirmation. Dated from last month. I opened it. "Thank you for your payment of $1,580. I opened another one. Same amount. And another. Every month, like clockwork, a confirmation email. Which meant the payments were going through. Which meant my automatic transfer from our joint account was working exactly as intended. She'd been getting those confirmations every month for over a year and had never once mentioned them. Never thanked me. Never acknowledged what I was doing for her. The shower shut off. I closed the laptop carefully, making sure it looked exactly as I'd found it, and moved to the kitchen. My heart was pounding. I poured myself a glass of water with shaking hands and tried to look normal when Brianna emerged from the bedroom 15 minutes later in her bathrobe, hair wrapped in a towel. "What do you want for dinner?" she asked, like we were a normal couple having a normal evening. "I'm not hungry," she shrugged. "Suit yourself." I watched her pull ingredients from the refrigerator, humming softly to herself, completely at ease. How was she so comfortable? How was she not drowning in guilt? I thought about my mom, probably sitting in her house right now, reading the cancer treatment pamphlets the doctor had given her, trying to figure out how to survive. And here was my wife, humming, planning to cook herself dinner with ingredients I'd bought, in an apartment I paid more than half the rent for, after spending hundreds of dollars on makeup we supposedly couldn't afford. That night, after Brianna fell asleep, I lay awake and did something I'd never done before. I made a plan. Not a revenge plan exactly. Just a plan to see clearly. To understand what was real and what wasn't. To test whether my marriage was worth saving or whether it had already died and I'd just been too loyal to notice the corpse. A week crawled by. I continued sending money to my mom, $1,200 transferred on the first of the month like I'd promised. Her first chemo session was scheduled and she'd called me crying, not from fear but from gratitude. "Baby, you don't have to do this," she'd whispered. "I'll figure something out." But we both knew there was nothing to figure out. Without help, she'd lose everything. Brianna noticed the transfer. Of course she did. She monitored our accounts like a hawk, despite having her own private spending that she clearly didn't want me monitoring. On Friday night, she came home from work with a look I'd never seen before. Determined. Cold. She walked straight to the bedroom, changed into jeans and a sweater, and came back out to where I was sitting on the couch. We need to talk. No. Not later, not tomorrow. Now. I muted the TV. Okay. She remained standing, arms crossed. Power position, I realized. She'd thought about this. Rehearsed it maybe. I've been thinking about this situation with your mother, and I need you to hear me clearly. Your mother is not our responsibility. She's had her life. We're just starting ours. There it was again. That phrase. Not our responsibility. Like my mom was some distant relative, not the woman who'd sacrificed everything so I could have a future. She's dying, Brianna. Darnell, be realistic. The survival rate for stage 3 is what? You're throwing money into a black hole. Money we need for our future. For a house. For kids someday. For us. She stepped closer. I need to know you understand what's at stake here. It's not just about money. It's about priorities. It's about whether you're committed to this marriage or whether you're going to let guilt about your mother destroy everything we're building. My throat felt tight. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to choose. Me and our future or her and a past you can't change. You have 24 hours. She checked her watch, that new rose gold one that definitely hadn't been on sale. It's 8:15 now. By 8:15 tomorrow night I need your answer. Are you my husband, or are you still her little boy? She walked to the bedroom and closed the door. Not slammed, just closed, which somehow felt worse. I sat there on the couch, numb, the TV still playing silently in front of me. Choose. Like it was that simple. Like loving your dying mother and loving your wife were mutually exclusive. Like marriage vows meant nothing when tested. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I stared at the transactions, the patterns, the automatic payment that had been coming out for 13 months. $1,580 to Navy and student loans every single month. Money that could have been mine. Money I'd given freely out of love. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I opened a note on my phone and typed, "She's right about one thing. Priorities." I scheduled the cancellation of Brianna's automatic loan payment, effective immediately. Then I opened a new savings account. Named it Mom's Treatment Fund. I transferred $1,580 into it. My first deposit. It felt like both an ending and a beginning. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Around 2 in the morning, I gave up trying and moved to the living room with my laptop. Brianna's ultimatum played on repeat in my head. 24 hours. Choose. Like my mother's life was a negotiation point. I pulled up our bank statements going back 13 months, to when I'd first started paying Brianna's loans. I created a spreadsheet, something I did at work when analyzing marketing budgets. Column 1, dates. Column 2, amount paid to her loans. Column 3, running total. The numbers climbed steadily. $1,580, month after month for 13 months straight. Total paid, $20,540. I stared at that number. $20,000. That was a down payment on a modest house in our area. That was a new car. That was a safety net, an emergency fund, a foundation for the future Brianna kept saying we needed to build. And I'd given it to her freely without hesitation, because I loved her and wanted to help ease her burden. Now she was telling me I couldn't help ease my mother's burden because we needed to prioritize our future. A future I'd apparently been building alone while she spent hundreds on makeup and brunch. I opened her public Venmo again and went further back. 6 months of history. 8 months. A year. The pattern was consistent and damning. Luxury purchases 2-3 times a week. Restaurants I couldn't afford. Shopping trips with friends where she'd split bottles of wine that cost more than my mom's weekly grocery budget. All while I'd been eating leftovers for lunch and driving a car with a broken air conditioner because we were saving. I downloaded every transaction. Screenshot after screenshot. Then I went through our credit card statements, the ones from our joint card. Most charges were legitimate. Utilities, groceries, gas. But scattered throughout were charges I'd never noticed before. Small ones, 50 here, 75 there, all to stores Brianna shopped at. Death by 1,000 cuts. Around 4 in the morning, I made a decision. If Brianna wanted to talk about priorities, we'd talk about priorities. If she wanted to talk about responsibility, we'd talk about whose responsibility was whose. I wasn't canceling my mom's support. Not for anything. Not for anyone. But I was done being a bank account with a heartbeat. I logged into the loan servicer website using the information from Brianna's confirmation emails. Changed the payment method from automatic withdrawal to manual payment. Just like that, with a few clicks, the $1,580 that had been leaving my account for 13 months stayed put. Next month, when Navient tried to pull payment, they'd find nothing. Brianna would have to pay her own loans like an adult. Like she should have been doing all along. Then I transferred that $1,580 into my new account. Mom's Treatment Fund. Balance, $3,160 after tonight's deposit. The first money that was truly mine in over a year. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom, sent in the middle of the night. She couldn't sleep either apparently. Honey, I don't want to be a burden. Maybe we can find a cheaper treatment option. Don't sacrifice your marriage for me. Please. I typed back, you're not a sacrifice, Mom. You're a priority. Try to sleep. We'll figure this out together. But I knew the truth. My marriage was already over. It had probably been over for months, maybe longer. I'd just been too devoted to see it. 3 weeks passed in tense coexistence. Brianna never brought up her ultimatum again, probably because I'd made my choice clear by continuing to send money to my mom. We spoke only when necessary, passing each other like ghosts. I'd started sleeping on the couch most nights. She never asked why. My mom started chemo. The first session knocked her down hard, and I'd taken a sick day to drive her home and stay with her. Brianna had texted asking where I was. I'd responded, with my mom. She'd replied, of course. 2 words dripping with resentment. On a Saturday morning we needed groceries. We usually went together on weekends, one of those mundane couple activities that somehow felt important. This time we went because the refrigerator was empty and we were both too stubborn to go alone and let the other off the hook. The supermarket was crowded, families everywhere, kids begging for cookies. We grabbed a cart and moved through the aisles in silence. Brianna started loading items. Organic vegetables, name-brand cereals, expensive cuts of meat, the fancy cheese she liked, a bottle of wine that cost $35. I watched for a few aisles, then quietly started swapping items when she wasn't looking. Generic cereal instead of name-brand. Regular vegetables instead of organic. Store-brand cheese. When we reached the wine aisle and she grabbed that $35 bottle, I put it back and selected one for $12. She noticed immediately. Really? We're that broke now. We need to be smart with money, I said calmly. You taught me that. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't argue. We continued shopping in hostile silence. By the time we reached checkout, the tension was suffocating. The cashier, a cheerful older woman, rang up our items while making small talk about the weather. The total came to $163. Brianna pulled out her debit card and swiped it. Declined. She frowned and tried again. Declined. The people behind us in line started shifting impatiently. Brianna's face flushed red. Can you just pay? She hissed at me. I'll transfer you later. I pulled out my card without a word and paid. The cashier bagged our groceries, oblivious to the nuclear bomb ticking between us. We loaded everything into the car in silence. I started driving home, and that's when Brianna's phone rang. Hello? Yes, this is she. Her voice was professional, guarded. Then her face went white. What do you mean my payment bounced? Pause. Her hand gripped the phone tighter. 45 days past due? That's impossible. I have it on automatic. She stopped. Her eyes cut to me. I'll call you back. She hung up. The silence in the car was deafening. Darnell. Her voice was shaking. Did you stop paying my loans? I kept my eyes on the road. Yes. When? 3 weeks ago. Are you insane? She was yelling now, all composure gone. Do you know what this does to my credit? We can't get a house now. We can't. Your debt is not our responsibility, Brianna. The words landed like a bomb. She went silent, recognition dawning on her face. Those were her exact words about my mother. I'd just thrown them back at her and we both knew it. We drove the rest of the way home in absolute silence. Brianna kept her face turned toward the window, but I could see her reflection. She was shaking, whether from rage or panic I couldn't tell. Maybe both. When I pulled into our parking spot, she was out of the car before I'd even turned off the engine. By the time I'd carried the groceries upstairs, she was pacing the living room like a caged animal, phone in hand. She whirled on me the second I walked through the door. Did you stop paying my loans? She already knew the answer, but she needed to hear me say it again, needed confirmation that this was really happening. Yes. I set the grocery bags on the counter and started unpacking them, methodical and calm. It was driving her crazy, my calmness. Good. Are you out of your mind? Her voice cracked on the last word. Do you have any idea what this does to my credit score? What this means for our future. We can't get approved for a mortgage now. We can't. I turned to face her. Your debt is not our responsibility, Brianna. You taught me that. Her mouth opened and closed. She knew exactly what I was doing, throwing her own words about my dying mother back at her. That's completely different and you know it. How? We're married, Darnell. This is financial abuse. You can't just unilaterally decide to stop paying a bill that affects both of us. Like you unilaterally decided I should stop helping my mother? That's different. Explain how. I crossed my arms and leaned against the counter. Please. Explain to me how your $80,000 student loan debt from a degree you're not even using is our joint responsibility, but my mother's cancer treatment isn't. Brianna's face flushed deep red. My loans are an investment in our future. Your mother is, she stopped herself but too late. Is what? Dying? Oh, not worth it. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I pulled out my phone, opened it to her Venmo history and started reading. March 15th, $340 to Sephora. Treat yourself, girl. March 18th, $280 to Lululemon. New leggings energy. March 22nd, $195 to Anthropology. Decor vibes. I looked up at her. This was the same month you told me we couldn't afford $800 for my dying mother's medical bills. The color drained from her face. You went through my Venmo? It's public, Brianna. You posted it for everyone to see. I just finally looked. Those were. I needed. You don't understand the pressure I'm under? Pressure. My voice stayed level but something hard had settled in my chest. My mother has stage 3 cancer. She worked herself into the ground to raise me alone. She just started chemo and can't keep food down. She's terrified she'll lose her house after 30 years of payments. Tell me about pressure, Brianna. She started crying but they looked like angry tears more than sad ones. This isn't fair. You're twisting everything. I've been trying to build a life with you and you're sabotaging it for someone who... Finish that sentence, I said quietly. For someone who what? She pressed her lips together. Say it, I pushed. For someone who probably won't make it anyway? That's what you were going to say at dinner 3 weeks ago before you stopped yourself. That's what you meant when you talked about throwing money into a black hole. I'm being realistic. I'm thinking about our future while you're drowning in guilt. I pulled my phone out again and played an audio file. My voice came through the speaker. She's dying, Brianna. Then her voice, cold and clear. Your mother is not our responsibility. She's had her life. We're just starting ours. Choose me and our future or her and a past you can't change. I'd recorded it that night. Some instinct had told me to document the moment my marriage ended. Brianna stared at the phone like it was a weapon. You recorded me? I documented the moment I realized who I married. Brianna was spiraling now, trying every angle to regain control. This is illegal. You can't record someone without their consent. I could. We're in a one-party consent state, I interrupted. I can record any conversation I'm part of. I checked. Her face twisted. She switched tactics. Fine. You're angry. I get it. I could have been more sensitive about your mother. But stopping my loan payments? That's cruel, Darnell. That's punishing me for speaking my mind. I'm not punishing you. I'm prioritizing my future. You taught me that, remember? I leaned against the counter, arms still crossed. See, I've been paying your loans for 13 months. $1,580 every single month. Did you even notice? She blinked. Of course I noticed. We agreed. We agreed you'd focus on your career and building savings while I handled the payments temporarily. Tell me, Brianna, how much have you saved in 13 months? Silence. I'll tell you. I've paid $20,540 toward your debt. And in that same time, according to your Venmo and our credit card statements, you've spent over $15,000 on personal luxuries. I pulled up the spreadsheet I'd made. Want to see the breakdown? Makeup, clothes, restaurants, bars, concerts, shopping trips with friends. $15,000 while you told me weekly that we were too broke to afford anything. That's not, you're making it sound worse than it is. Am I? I opened her Venmo on my phone and held it up. Let me read some more. April 3rd, $120 to that fancy brunch place. Bottomless mimosas with my favorites. April 10th, $85 nail salon. Self-care isn't selfish. April 20th, $250 Nordstrom. Spring wardrobe refresh. I lowered the phone. All in April. The month after my mom's diagnosis. The month you told me we needed to cut back. Brianna was shaking her head. You're cherry-picking. You're making me sound like some villain when I was just trying to live my life. While I was eating leftovers for lunch every day so we could save money. While I was driving a car with broken air conditioning through summer because we supposedly couldn't afford repairs. While my mother was getting diagnosed with cancer and I was lying awake at night trying to figure out how to help her without destroying my marriage. My voice finally rose. You weren't just living your life, Brianna. You were living it on my dime while telling me I was selfish for helping my dying mother. I never said you were selfish. You gave me an ultimatum. Or you? How is that not calling me selfish? She started crying harder now and I could see her shifting strategies again. The anger wasn't working, so now came the vulnerability. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry I wasn't more supportive. I'm sorry I didn't handle it better. But we can fix this. We can work through this. You don't have to keep punishing me. I'm not punishing you, I repeated. I'm just not paying your bills anymore. Your student loans are your responsibility. Just like my mother is mine. You're an adult with a job. Pay your own debt. But my credit? Should have thought about that before you spent $300 on makeup the same week you told me my mother wasn't our responsibility. She wiped her eyes, mascara smearing. What do you want from me, Darnell? You want me to grovel? Fine. I'm groveling. I was wrong. I was insensitive and selfish and I'm sorry. Please, don't do this. Don't destroy our marriage over this. I looked at her, really looked at her and felt nothing. No love, no anger, just empty exhaustion. I'm not destroying our marriage, Brianna. There's nothing left to destroy. You killed it 3 weeks ago when you made me choose between you and my mother. You just didn't realize I'd pick her. Her tears stopped. Her face hardened. So that's it? You're choosing her? I'm choosing myself. And my mom. And anyone else who actually loves me instead of what I can provide. She grabbed her purse and keys. Fine. I'm staying at Morgan's tonight. Maybe when you calm down and stop being dramatic, we can have an actual adult conversation. She slammed the door on her way out. I stood in the kitchen, surrounded by groceries that still needed to be put away, and felt the apartment exhale. It was quieter without her. Cleaner somehow, like a fog had lifted. The next 2 weeks were a blur. Brianna stayed at her friend Morgan's place. She'd text occasionally trying to feel out if I'd calmed down, but I mostly didn't respond. The loan servicers started calling her constantly. I could tell because she kept posting vague, martyred things on social media. When you realize who really had your back all along, and sometimes the trash takes itself out. Her friends rallied around her in the comments, calling me everything from controlling to abusive, not knowing the full story. I didn't care. Then, on a Tuesday evening there was a hard knock on my door. Not Brianna's knock. I checked the peephole and saw them, Brianna's parents. Richard and Carol. I'd always gotten along with them fine, though Richard had always been a bit much. Loud, opinionated, used to getting his way. He'd made his money in pharmaceutical sales before retiring early. Carol had been in real estate. They'd raised Brianna as their only child, given her everything, and it showed. I opened the door. Richard. Carol. We need to talk. Richard pushed past me without being invited in. Carol followed, looking uncomfortable. Brianna trailed behind them, arms crossed, staying near the door. Richard turned on me, face already red. What the hell do you think you're doing to our daughter? I closed the door slowly. Hello to you too. Don't get smart with me, boy. Brianna told us what you've been doing. Cutting off her loan payments, sabotaging her credit, financially abusing her. Financially abusing her? I almost laughed. Is that what she told you? That's what's happening. Richard stepped closer, using his size to intimidate. You made a commitment when you married her. That includes her debts, her responsibilities. You don't just get to pull the rug out from under her because you're having some kind of breakdown about your mother. There it was. Some kind of breakdown. Like my mother's cancer was me being hysterical. Did Brianna tell you why I stopped paying her loans? She said you're putting your mother ahead of your marriage, Carol interjected softly. And honey, we understand that's hard, but marriage has to come first. Did she tell you what she said about my mother? Brianna spoke up from the doorway. Dad, let's just go. He's not going to listen. What did she say? Richard demanded. I pulled out my phone, found the recording and hit play. My voice, she's dying, Brianna. Then Brianna's voice, crystal clear. Your mother is not our responsibility. She's had her life. We're just starting ours. Be realistic. The survival rate for stage 3 is what? You're throwing money into a black hole. Choose me and our future or her and a past you can't change. The recording played in the silent apartment. Carol's hand went to her mouth. Richard's aggressive posture deflated slightly. Brianna's face went pale. That's out of context, Brianna started. What context makes that okay? I asked quietly. What context makes telling your husband to abandon his dying mother acceptable? Carol looked at her daughter. Brianna, you said that? I was trying to be practical. We have goals, plans, and he was just throwing money away. She has stage 3 lung cancer, I interrupted. My mother, who raised me alone, who worked 2 jobs to keep me fed and housed after my father walked out, who just finished paying off her house after 30 years, has cancer. And your daughter told me she wasn't our responsibility. Richard's voice was quieter now. That's harsh, honey. Dad, you don't understand. I pulled out the Venmo screenshots. While she was telling me we were too broke to help my dying mother, she spent $15,000 in 13 months on clothes, makeup, restaurants, and shopping trips. All while I was paying her $1,580 a month toward her student loans. $20,000 over 13 months. I handed Richard my phone with the spreadsheet. He scrolled through it, his face changing. Carol looked over his shoulder, her expression shifting from defensive to confused to something like shame. Sweetheart, Carol said slowly, where did you get the money for all this? Brianna's eyes filled with tears. I work. I have my own income. Then why couldn't you pay your own loans? I asked. Silence. Richard handed my phone back. He looked at his daughter, then at me. I think we need to have a family conversation. Privately. No, Brianna said. No, Dad, you came here to support me. I came here because you told me your husband was financially abusing you. That's not what's happening here. Dad. I walked to the door and opened it. I think you should go. All of you. And Brianna? She looked at me, tears streaming now. Have your stuff out by Friday. I'm done. Brianna moved out over that weekend. Her parents helped, Richard avoiding eye contact, Carol apologizing quietly when Brianna was out of earshot. I'm sorry. We didn't know the whole story. I just nodded. What was there to say? The apartment felt different after they left. Empty but in a good way. Like I could finally breathe. I deep cleaned everything, scrubbing floors, wiping down surfaces, washing every dish. I took down the decorative pillows Brianna had insisted on, packed away the candles that smelled like artificial vanilla. I repainted the living room wall she'd hated, changing it back to the soft gray I'd originally chosen. Every trace of her gone. The calls started for her immediately. I know because she posted about it constantly. Her social media became a documentation of her downfall, though she didn't frame it that way. Pictures of her phone screen showing unknown caller, with captions like, harassment is real, and can't even breathe without someone demanding money. Her credit score dropped 140 points in a month. I know because she posted a screenshot of it with a caption about how financial abuse ruins lives. Her friends were still supportive in the comments, but I noticed some were getting quieter. Morgan, who she'd stayed with, hadn't commented in weeks. Maybe Brianna had worn out her welcome. Maybe Morgan had asked too many questions and gotten answers she didn't like. Meanwhile, my life was stabilizing. I visited my mom twice a week. The chemo was brutal, but she was fighting. 3 months in, she had a scan. I drove her to the appointment, held her hand in the waiting room while she trembled. When the doctor came out smiling, I knew before he said anything. The tumors are shrinking. Significantly. My mom burst into tears. I held her while she sobbed, and I cried 2 months of fear and exhaustion pouring out. We're beating this, I whispered. We're actually beating this. That night, alone in my apartment, I got a text from Brianna. The first direct message in 2 weeks. I heard about your mom. That's good news. I'm happy for her. I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to believe she meant it. The larger part knew this was her testing the waters, seeing if good news made me vulnerable to reconciliation. I didn't respond. 3 days later, another text. Can we talk? Really talk? I've had time to think. I deleted it. A week after that, she showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the peephole and didn't open the door. She knocked for 5 minutes before leaving. I watched through the window as she sat in her car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, crying before finally driving away. My mom asked me once if I regretted it. We were sitting in her living room, her wearing her chemo headscarf, both of us drinking tea. Do you wish you'd chosen differently? Tried harder with Brianna? No, I said honestly. I wish I'd seen who she was sooner. But I don't regret choosing you. I'll never regret that. She squeezed my hand. Your father chose wrong. You chose right. I'm proud of you, baby. My savings account grew. Without Brianna's loans, without her hidden spending, I was saving over $2,000 a month. The mom's treatment fund had enough to cover 6 months of care. I opened another account, down payment. My future built the right way. 3 months after Brianna moved out, she showed up at my door again. It was a Thursday evening and I'd just gotten home from work. I saw her through the peephole looking different. Thinner. Her designer clothes replaced with plain jeans and a basic sweater. Hair in a simple ponytail instead of professionally styled. She looked tired and small. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to leave the door closed, but some small part of me, the part that had loved her once, made me open it. Can we talk? Her voice was quiet. Please? Just 5 minutes. I stepped aside and let her in. She walked to the living room taking in the changes. The new paint color. The missing pillows. The absence of her presence. It looks good, she said softly. Different. But good. I stayed by the door, arms crossed. What do you want, Brianna? She turned to face me and I saw she'd been crying. Her eyes were red, makeup-free. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really truly sorry. Not because I want something from you, but because you deserve to hear it. I said nothing. You were right. About everything. I was selfish and cruel and I took you for granted. Her voice cracked. I thought marriage meant I could stop trying. That you'd just always be there, always take care of things, always pick up my slack. I treated you like a bank account instead of a person. Yes, you did. She flinched at my bluntness but nodded. My parents barely speak to me. My dad keeps asking how I could say those things about your mother. My friends think I'm a burden because I had to move back home and I can't afford to go out anymore. My credit is destroyed. I can't get approved for anything. I got denied for a secured credit card last week. Do you know how bad your credit has to be to get denied for a secured card? You're telling me this why? You want sympathy? No. She wiped her eyes. I'm telling you because I finally understand what you were trying to tell me. About responsibility. About showing up for the people you love even when it's hard. About sacrifice. She stepped closer. I'm working 2 jobs now. Retail during the day, waitressing at night. Every penny goes to my loans and helping my parents with bills because their pension isn't enough. I'm exhausted all the time. I have no social life. And you know what? I finally get it. This is what you were doing for me. This is what your mom did for you your whole life. And I threw it in your face. My throat was tight but I kept my voice steady. Why are you here, Brianna? Because I love you. And I know I ruined everything and I know I don't deserve another chance, but I had to try. I had to tell you that I see it now. I see what I had and what I lost. I'll do anything. I'll get a 3rd job. I'll help with your mom. I'll prove to you that I can be the partner you deserved all along. She was crying openly now. Please. Just give me a chance to make this right. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt it. That pull, that old love trying to resurface. She looked genuine. Broken and humbled and real in a way she never had before. For a moment, I wavered. Then I thought about my mom sitting in that chemo chair, fighting for her life. I thought about the recording on my phone, Brianna's cold voice saying my mother wasn't our responsibility. I thought about the Venmo posts, the shopping receipts, the $340 on makeup while my mom was getting diagnosed with cancer. No. Darnell, please. You're not sorry you did it, Brianna. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there were consequences. I opened the door. If I'd never stopped paying your loans, if I'd never found those receipts, if my mom had just died quietly without costing us money, you'd still be that person. You're only different now because you have to be. That's not true. It is true. And you know it. I held the door open wider. I don't miss you. I miss the person I thought you were. But that person never existed. You showed me exactly who you are, and I'm choosing to believe you. She stood there, tears streaming, looking at me like I was destroying her. Maybe I was. But she destroyed me first, and I'd had to rebuild alone. I hope you figure your life out, I said quietly. I really do. You're not a bad person, Brianna. You're just not my person. You never were. She left without another word. I watched her walk to her car, an older model now, not the least BMW she'd driven during our marriage. She sat there for a long time before driving away. I closed the door, locked it, and felt the finality settle over me. It was over. Really, truly over. And I was okay. 6 months after my mom's diagnosis, I drove to her house on a Sunday afternoon. It had become our routine. Sunday dinners, just the 2 of us, sitting in her small kitchen that smelled like roast chicken and cornbread. She looked better. Color in her cheeks. She'd gained back some of the weight chemo had stolen. Her headscarf was gone, replaced by short silver hair she wore proudly. The doctor called Friday, she said as I helped her set the table. Wanted to give me the latest scan results before the weekend. My heart stopped. And? She smiled, that smile that had gotten me through every hard moment of my childhood. Remission. Official remission. He said if things stay like this, I beat it. I dropped the silverware I was holding and hugged her, lifting her off the ground. She laughed, really laughed, the sound filling the kitchen. Baby, you're gonna crack my ribs. I don't care. We did it. We actually did it. We sat down to eat and she reached across the table to squeeze my hand. I heard Brianna came by your place a few months back. Mom? I'm not bringing it up to make you feel bad. I'm bringing it up to make sure you don't. She fixed me with that look, the one that had made me confess to every childhood misdeed. You know I felt terrible, right? About being the reason your marriage ended? You weren't the reason. I was the catalyst, and I want you to know I would have understood if you'd chosen differently. If you'd chosen her. I shook my head. You taught me what real love looks like. Sacrifice. Loyalty. Showing up when it's hard, not just when it's convenient. Brianna taught me what it doesn't look like. I needed both lessons, I guess. You're too wise for 31. I learned from the best. After dinner, I pulled out my phone and showed her my banking app. The down payment account had $14,000 in it. I'm meeting with a realtor next week. Looking at houses. Small ones, 2-bedroom. Nothing fancy. But mine. Her eyes teared up. Baby, I'm so proud of you. One of those bedrooms is for you. If you want it. If you need somewhere when treatments get hard or you just don't want to be alone. She shook her head. This is your fresh start. You don't need your mama cramping your style. You'd never be cramping anything. You gave up everything to give me a start. Let me give you somewhere soft to land. We cleaned dishes together and I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. My life wasn't perfect. I was divorced at 31, living alone, starting over. But I was starting over clean. No resentment, no lies, no wondering if the person next to me actually loved me or just loved what I could provide. That night, driving home through quiet streets, I thought about Brianna. I hoped she was okay. Genuinely hoped she'd learned and grown and become someone better. But I didn't miss her. Didn't regret my choice. Didn't wonder what if. My apartment was dark and silent when I got home. I turned on the lights, fed the cat, and stood in my living room looking at everything I'd rebuilt. The walls I'd painted. The space I'd reclaimed. The life I was building brick by brick. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Thank you for choosing me. But more than that, thank you for choosing yourself. That's what I always wanted for you. Love you, baby. I typed back. Love you too, Mom. Always. I poured myself a drink, sat on my couch and pulled up my banking app one more time. 2 accounts, both growing steadily. Mom's treatment fund and down payment. My priorities made visible. My future built on truth instead of obligation. Brianna had been right about one thing. Priorities matter. She just never understood what the right priorities were. And now, finally, neither did I have to explain them to anyone. I was free. My mom was healing. My future was mine. And that was enough. More than enough. That was everything.